I never thought it would come to this. Standing in the rain outside the courthouse, clutching a manila folder like it was the last piece of me still intact, I kept asking myself, when did I stop being a person to them and become a problem to manage? I was 28 when my world cracked open. Not with a scream, not with a fight, but with silence. The kind of silence that follows a betrayal so deep, it echoes in your bones long after the shouting stops. Before I tell you how I turned their perfect lie into a house of cards and watched it all fall apart, I want you to know I see you. I see the one sitting there, maybe with a knot in your stomach, wondering if you're overreacting, if you should just let it go, if maybe you're the one who's broken. I used to wonder that too. So if you're watching this, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, drop a "me too" in the comments. Not for pity, for power. Because sometimes, just knowing you're not alone is the first real step toward getting out. My name is Leela. I was the quiet one. The one who remembered birthdays, who brought soup when someone was sick, who paid the bill when no one else had cash. I was the glue. At least that's what I told myself. But glue only matters when something's falling apart. And when it does, no one thanks the glue. They just scrape it off. It started with the apartment. My parents' basement apartment, to be exact. After Dad passed, Mom moved into the main house alone, and I moved into the basement to help, to keep her company, to make sure she wasn't lonely. I gave up a promotion at work, a studio apartment in the city, even a relationship that was finally going somewhere, because family comes first, right? For 2 years, I lived under their roof, paying rent I could barely afford to a woman who still treated me like a guest. I cooked, cleaned, paid bills, even handled her insurance claims when she fell and broke her wrist. I did it all without complaint. Not because I was a saint, but because I was desperate to be seen, to be loved, to finally matter. And then came her, my younger sister, Naomi, the golden child, the one who left at 18 with a backpack and a dream, only to return 5 years later with a baby bump, a sob story, and a man I'd never met. I remember the day they showed up. It was raining. Mom opened the door like she was welcoming royalty. Naomi stood there, shivering in a soaked sweater, one hand on her belly, the other clutching a duffel bag. "Mom," she whispered, "I have nowhere else to go." Mom didn't hesitate. "Of course you do, sweetheart, you're home." I was standing in the kitchen, drying a dish when I heard it. Home, but I didn't live in the house. I lived in the basement. I was the help. And suddenly, Naomi was being handed the keys to the kingdom. They moved into the guest room. Then, within a week, they moved into the master suite. "The stairs are hard on her," Mom said, "and the baby needs space." I nodded like it made sense, like I wasn't being erased. Naomi didn't look at me much in those early days. When she did, it was with this distant pity, like I was some relic from a life she'd outgrown. Her boyfriend, Derek, was worse. He'd smirk when I walked into the room, like I was a joke he hadn't finished telling. But I stayed quiet. I made meals. I held the baby when he cried. I even offered to babysit so they could get some air. I thought if I was useful enough, kind enough, selfless enough, they'd finally see me. Then came the fight. It was about money, always about money. Mom called me into the living room one evening, her voice tight. "Leela, we need to talk." Naomi was on the couch, cradling the baby, looking fragile. Derek stood behind her, arms crossed. "We've been reviewing the finances," Mom began, "and it's clear we can't keep up with the mortgage and the baby's needs on what we have. So we've decided it's time for you to move out." I stared at her. "Move out, but I pay rent, I help with everything." "We're not asking," Naomi cut in, not looking up. "You've been living here rent-free for 2 years, basically. It's time you stood on your own 2 feet. My blood turned to ice. Rent-free? I'd paid $800 a month since I moved in. I had the receipts. I had the bank transfers. I'd been paying more than market rate just to feel like I belonged. I didn't argue. I just walked back to the basement, packed a single suitcase, and left that night. I didn't even wake them to say goodbye. I just disappeared. I stayed with a coworker for a few weeks, sleeping on a couch that left my back in knots. I applied for apartments, but with my credit score tanking from the sudden job loss, Mom had forgotten to renew my access to the business account I managed for her. I was denied everywhere. Then, one rainy Tuesday, I got a call from the bank. "Ms. Reyes, we're calling regarding the joint account you share with your mother." There's been a series of unauthorized withdrawals totaling $27,000 over the past 6 months. I nearly dropped the phone. What? That's impossible. I haven't touched that account. We have transaction records showing transfers to an account under Naomi Reyes and Derek Marsh. Would you like to file a fraud report? I sat there, the receiver pressed to my ear, my mind racing. They'd been draining the account, the one I had built, the one with my name on it, the one I used to pay Mom's medical bills, the one I'd funded with my own salary for years. And they'd done it while telling everyone I was a freeloader. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened my laptop and started digging. I pulled every bank statement, every email, every text. I found the rent payments I'd made, proof I wasn't living there for free. I found the grocery receipts, the pharmacy bills, the gas charges for driving Mom to chemo. I found the forged signature on the withdrawal forms. Someone had scanned my old signature from a birthday card and pasted it onto bank documents. And then I found the lease. The new apartment Naomi and Derek had just moved into, the one with the rooftop garden and the gym, the one they said they got through a miracle loan. The lease showed a cosigner, my name, my social security number, my credit. They used my identity to get approved. I printed everything, I saved everything. I created a folder on my desktop called Truth, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for justice. I was going to serve it. I hired a lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Alina who looked at my evidence and said, "They're going to fold before trial." I filed for identity theft. I filed for fraud. I filed a civil suit for emotional distress and financial damages. And then, quietly, I requested a forensic audit of the joint account. The bank complied, and what they found was worse than I imagined. Over 3 years, $68,000 had been siphoned from the account. Not just from the recent withdrawals, but from old ones, payments labeled family support, medical, emergencies, none of which I'd authorized. Mom had been giving Naomi money behind my back, using my account as the source. And the final straw, the loan for the new apartment. The bank had approved it based on my credit score, 812. But they'd also required proof of stable income. So what did they submit? My W-2s, my performance reviews, my job title. They deforged my employment verification letter, complete with a fake HR signature. They didn't just steal my money, they stole my reputation. The day of the hearing, I wore red. Not because it was bold, but because it was the color I used to wear when I felt strong, when I felt seen. The courtroom was small, the kind where everyone can hear every breath. Mom sat with Naomi and Derek, all three of them looking like victims of some great injustice. Mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Naomi rocked the baby, whispering to him like the world was ending. When the judge called my name, I stood. My lawyer presented the evidence, the bank statements, the forged documents, the time-stamped emails showing I'd been locked out of the account, the security footage from the bank branch showing Naomi entering with a folder, my folder, under her arm. Then came the audit report. The judge read it slowly, then looked up. "Mrs. Reyes," she said to my mother, "you are aware that knowingly allowing identity theft to occur, especially by a family member, is a criminal offense." Mom's face went pale. I didn't know. "You signed the cosigner form for the apartment loan," the judge said. "You verified the employment documents. You were the primary account holder. Ignorance is not a defense." Naomi tried to speak, but the judge cut her off. "And you, Ms. Reyes, you filed a police report claiming your sister had been harassing you, threatening your child. Yet there is no evidence of this. In fact, multiple witnesses, neighbors, coworkers, a daycare provider, have submitted statements saying you were the one who made threats, who said you'd ruin her life if she didn't leave." Naomi's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The judge turned to me. "Ms. Leela Reyes, I find the claims against you to be baseless, fraudulent, and deeply troubling. The restraining order is dismissed. The identity theft and fraud charges will proceed, and I am ordering the immediate return of all misappropriated funds, plus interest." She paused. "And one more thing, you should be ashamed, all of you. This young woman gave up her life to care for this family, and how did you repay her? By stealing from her, lying about her, discarding her like trash. I hope, for your own sakes, you find a way to make this right, because the law can only do so much." The gavel came down. I didn't feel triumph, I didn't feel joy. I felt relief, like a weight I'd been carrying since childhood had finally been lifted. Afterward, Mom tried to approach me. "Leela, please," she said, her voice breaking. "We made a mistake. We didn't understand." "You didn't want to understand," I said softly. "You never did." I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. The months that followed weren't easy. Healing never is. I started therapy. I moved into a tiny studio with yellow walls and a window that caught the morning sun. I got a new job, better pay, better people. I even adopted a cat, a scrappy little thing with one ear folded over. I named her Scout. She sleeps on my chest every night like she's guarding my heart. I still think about them sometimes, not with anger but with sadness, for the family I thought I had, for the love I thought I deserved. But then I look around, at my apartment, at my life, at the garden I'm growing on my fire escape, and I realize I don't need their love to be whole. I built this, all of it. And the most beautiful part, I didn't need their permission. It's been a year now. Last week I got a letter, Naomi, handwritten, said she left Derek, said she was in rehab, said she was sorry. I read it once, then I lit a candle and burned it in the sink. Not because I don't believe in forgiveness, but because forgiveness isn't for the guilty. It's for the one who's been hurt, and I'm not waiting for their apology to feel free. I'm already free. So if you're out there, holding on to a hope that someone will finally see you, finally choose you, finally love you the way you deserve, let this be your sign. You don't have to stay. You don't have to beg. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into a family that only loves the version of you that serves them. Walk away. Build your own table. And when you do, I'll be in the comments cheering you on. If this story found its way to you at the right time, I'd be honored if you liked it, shared it, or subscribed. Not for the algorithm, but because maybe, just maybe, it helps someone else find their way out of the dark. You're not broken, you're becoming, and that's the most powerful story of all.